Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. This is the 1833rd day of continuous webinar conducted by International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy. Today, our guest is Dr. SHAJI Kuditat. Let us begin the session with 1 minute silent prayer. Thank you all. The International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy comprises of homeopathic lovers, students, and doctors, and we have 3 sessions every day. The first session of the day is already over in Hindi from 7:30 to 8:30. From 8:30 to 9:30, we have the international session in English, and from 9:30 to 10:30, local language session in Malayalam. We are uploading the videos of the same on the very next day itself, so that those who miss the session can watch it again, and those who want to subscribe, want to share it, you can share it with anyone who loves homeopathy. You can subscribe the same without paying any money. The purpose of this forum is to take homeopathy to every home around the world. As you all know that the International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy is celebrating its 5th anniversary on 28th of September. That's this month itself. Hope all of you will register for the same rupees 3,000 per person, and you have to register our website also. You can register you can see everything in the website. Kindly go through the website, and there will be short presentation, discussions, and interactive session for students, and all in all, in the end, there will be some cultural programs for everyone to celebrate the session. And today, let me come to today's our guest. As you all know, this is none other than Dr. SHAJI Kuditat, the Vice President of IFPH, and Dr. SHAJI Kuditat is a person who has developed a specific science called dynamic science, and this is a most important application of dynamic science today is the prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation of cancer through a new disease management methodology called DSA, Dynamic Scientific Approach, which is the best, latest, and safest natural cancer treatment methodology in the world today. So Dr. will explain about the same in the presentation through, and already sir has presented the same and some other presentation earlier. And he is the first he is the first person to introduce the dynamic science, the science of the new generation to the world, and the first to introduce homeopathy in Philippines, and known as the father of homeopathy in Philippines, the first to formulate DSA treatment, dynamic scientific approach for the prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation of diseases, especially cancer, the first to introduce the dynamic science as a sportsman science, the first to introduce the DSA as the natural arrogance in these sports, and the first to introduce the genetic counseling, which helps conversing hereditary problems and preventing the manifestations of healthy humanity, predisposition, etc. The first to defense what is a healthy mind through dynamic science, which is relevant psychology and counseling. The first to engage in the scientifically guided life coaching, helping and individual, families, and society accompanying their healthy existence, a cure of disease and goals. The first to explain how homeopathy works as an energy medicine called dynamic science. And today, the doctor will be talking about some of my clinical experiences in the management of cancer. As you all know, cancer is an area where homeopathy can do wonders, but there are different protocols for treatment of cancer in homeopathy. And Dr. SHAJI Kuditat is a person who can have a different methodology of treatment for cancer. So let us see what a doctor has to say about dynamic science and cancer treatment and its management. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. I am Dr. SHAJI Kuditat, as already introduced, and I am now treating as a specialized doctor in treatment of cancer. And what I do become a uh, specialization in cancer treatment is because of it's a new approach I developed and introduced to the world. And how it become developed different is because it is based on a new scientific hypothesis I am introducing called dynamic science. The dynamic science explains how the mind, vital force, and DNA are interconnected. This connectivity is very important because today we all know that the scientific medical science research conduct researchers mainly in the physical body. And they conduct researchers, they study only the physical body. But we all know that the physical body is alive only when the dynamic components like the mind and vital force or soul or spirit or some whatever with the name we call in Ayurveda, they call it prana. In Chinese herbal medicine, they call it chi. So whatever name we call, there is an energy component that creates and maintains the living phenomenon. So unless and until we scientifically understand the role and influence of these dynamic components in the functioning of the physical body, a living phenomena will be never completely scientifically understood. So it is clear to bring to our awareness that today the science, the medical science, is studying, interacting, and so-called scientific researches are conducted unscientifically or incompletely because they merely study the physical body alone. That is not enough. The biochemistry of the body is entirely different when the mind is in happy, sad, angry, or when different moods are there. The biochemistry will be entirely different. So without considering these differences into scientific consideration, totally ignoring these influences in the functioning in the physical plane, whatever we do in the physical body alone will never give good results. And also, all over the world today, cancer is treated without understanding how cancer develops. The entire treatment of cancer in the world is targeted only in the destruction of the tumor associated with the cancer. They destroy the tumor through chemotherapy or radiation therapy, or remove it through surgery, or they do all these things. But that is only to remove or destroy the tumor associated with the cancer. That is actually a byproduct of the disease. The actual disease is the reason why these cells which used to multiply normally start multiplying abnormally. And this is also resulted after an epigenetic change happened in the DNA that instruct the cells to multiply normally or abnormally, or there is a mutation, an abnormal mutation happen in the genes that give such instructions. So it is very important to understand who controls our DNA, which are the causes that regulates the DNA, which are the planes that we need to look into to understand the regulation of DNA. Such things are never included in the current cancer treatments. They are what happened in the world is today a kind of deception or cheating. They bring totally ignorant patient to the focus of the patient to the tumor, and they destroy the tumor and tell the patient by removing it you are okay, but the patient is not okay because the causes that lead to the changes in the DNA, either in the epigenetic plane or in the mutational plane, still remain because nobody brought these causes into the awareness of the patient. As long as the causes persist, the mutation or the epigenetic change persists, and the tumors or the cancer recur. And that is very common. In rare occasions, if such causes are unknowingly modified because of either the patient lane into spirituality, or there are problems or crises in the personal or family or in the workplace of the patient or in the environment where the patient is living, that after identifying the disease, which is believed to be a big problem today, so they get panic, they get get into big crisis. So the other problems get automatically corrected unknowingly. In such patient, they escape. So we in dynamic scientific approach, which is homeopathic medicine based and dynamic science guided, along with the judicious application of surgery, is mainly focusing in the ignored area of cancer treatment today, along with the destruction or removal of the tumor also. That's why we include surgery also judiciously. If it is within the if it is the tumor is a bigger one, we observe that when we give homeopathic medicine that strengthen our immunity, our body will reject anything inimical to our system, either destroying it or uh, killing it and resulting into a vent through ulceration, and remove the killed cells in the form of pus. That's why if you have a breast cancer, if you take homeopathic medicine without removing the tumor, if it is the right medicine, the body will reject and you will form an ulceration in the breast. It is actually a good thing, because when it happens, the spread of the cancer internally will never happen. The body is rejecting it, and there is apoptosis taking place, and the body will be rejecting it through a vent, through ulceration. But if the ulceration sets in, then if the tumor is considerably big, it will take years to heal spontaneously. So what I suggest is, I do the surgery, I suggest a surgery for such patients, and after that, we do homeopathic management to rectify the damage happened to the vital force. Along with that, we do a genetic counseling session. That is the most important part of our treatment. The genetic counseling session is a minimum 1.5 hour session that we conduct, where we scientifically explain who control our DNA and how the epigenetic or the mutational changes happen in our DNA that lead to the development of the tumor or the cancer. And during this genetic counseling session, the patient will understand clearly which are the places we need to look for the causes of the cancer. And immediately after, I have seen a great sigh of relief in most of my patients, because they know now what to do. So it is giving a total awareness to the patient how cancer develops. When we know how cancer develops, that automatically help us to design the treatment. So our treatment in DSA methodology is designed based on a clear, complete understanding of how cancer develops. So it gives great results Since it is a new methodology, it is needed to be brought to the awareness of its advantages and its uniqueness for people to be benefited from it. So now the patient, most of them look at the big hospitals and what everybody do commonly, and they follow that. Whether the patient get most of the time killed or suffer from greater sufferings, that is normal, common. So when the majority do the wrong thing, that become a normal. So something new, it will take time to get established. So dynamic scientific approach, in my understanding, we may take some more time to get popularized around the world. But I am sure this is a need of the hour, and this needed to be understood by the people, suffering people at large and their relatives and friends. Not only for cancer, any challenging diseases, because most of the challenging diseases, the medical science don't understand the causes and how such diseases develop. And that is the reason why they are unable to design properly a curative treatment methodology. In many countries, even homeopathy doctors are prevented legally from consulting a cancer patient. These are all absurdness which we need to overcome with the proper education and the proper understanding about the disease and how we needed to be, such a patient needed to be treated. So there are business people who invested billions of money into cancer research. So their concern or their focus is not to help the patient, but get their investment back. So they do anything to obstruct such uh, truth-oriented researches and treatment methodologies, and that are one of the challenges that we face in our introduction of dynamic scientific approach. But I hope and believe this treatment is needed, and it will soon or later come into the awareness of the world for the benefit of humanity. So dynamic scientific approach begins with a group genetic counseling session, making the patient aware about the development of the problem, how they develop the disease, how the patient developed the disease. In that process, through my researches, I identified that our mental thoughts has a great role in the regulation of our DNA. And each organs are connected to each emotions. So genetic counseling help us understand each emotions connected to each organs. If the right breast is affected, there is a reason. If the left breast is affected, there is another reason. Each organs has specific emotional reasons that can be identified in every patient. But the causes or the situations that lead to the development of that emotional state vary from person to person. So the duty of a homeopathy doctor, along with giving the right medicine, is to analyze the environment, concept and attitudes, philosophy of thinking, and the nature of behavior of the patient and the thought development in that patient, and bring anything unnatural, unhealthy exist in such areas to the awareness of the patient and family, and guide them and help them to overcome that. If the patient overcome, and if the problem of the disease is within the reversible limit, then there will be a complete cure. So the cure is a simple process. If we take the right step in the right direction, it is just 2 steps away. But if we take a wrong direction, we may travel kilometers without any result, spending all our money, causing a lot of destruction and sufferings, pain, agony, side effects, so a lot of things. And that is what is happening all over the world. Today, the world is led by incomplete science, material science that never incorporate the dynamic components associated with the physical body in the creation and maintenance of the living phenomenon. So that is a big scientific mistake. So today my duty is to bring to your awareness the differences of what I do and what is happening in the mainstream, and have a discussion on that, so that these philosophical differences should be brought to the awareness of those who treat cancer patients. And that is the first thing to be needed. Everybody are looking for therapeutics to give the medicine and correct it immediately. No amount of medicine alone, in my opinion, can completely cure cancer. Of course, homeopathic medicines are one of the best in the world to result a more better cure by going beyond the physical plane to affect the changes in the destructive changes in the vital force. So the cure is little more depth. But if the concept and attitudes and the thought process that derange the vital force from the mental emotional plane sustained, after removing the medication that correct the vital force, these causes can derange the vital force again and cancer can come back. And that is the reason why sometimes when homeopathy doctors treat cancer with the right medicines, cancer is recurring. So we should have a complete knowledge about the disease before we design the treatment. And that is my first point to mention, that I learned from my researchers in cancer. Not only in cancer, this is applicable in all challenging diseases. So this is my honest observation and identification of what is going wrong in the medical science today. So like conventional medicine, they are selling medicines. We are also focusing only in giving the right medicine. That is not enough. Is the big awareness I am bringing to you, to those who listen to me from all over the world today. And also those who will be listening in future, the video uploaded in the YouTube also. So these are my initial points. I wish to have a discussion on this. You can ask me any questions on these matters and I will be happy to answer you. So I think your questions will be the way I can give more information regarding what I do, which is totally, there is a great difference because the prescription of medicine I do in a different manner. So in cancer patient, mostly I don't give a classical homeopathy of single medicine. I do a constitutional medicine, which is a higher potency, about 200 most of the time. Then I choose which are the organs affected and an organ-specific medicine or two based on the indications. And my science behind such a prescription is that our vital force is a union of so many energy vibrations, each of which control each organs in our body. So it is like an orchestra where when we edit the orchestra to make it a fine-tuned music, we differentiate, we divide each vibration coming from different musical instruments, guitar, violin, veena, or drums, and we fine-tune it and we fuse it again and give us a final output of the orchestra. In the same way, each cells in our body, each organs, each systems are regulated by each vibrational frequencies. All these frequencies fuse to form the vital force, the ultimate controller with extra powers. So if we give a constitutional or miasmatic medicine, it affects the vital force to correct the damage happen. And when we give a organ-specific medicine. It based on the symptom similarity. It resonates and superposes and correct the damage happened to the individual energy that affect that individual organ. So, and when the individual organ is energy that control the organ is corrected also, the vital force as a whole will be corrected and the disease get cured. So we can have multiple approaches. We can have constitutional medicine alone. That is what is happening in classical homeopathy. Those who give organ-specific medicines or pathological-based prescriptions give the medicine that affect that particular organ. When that energy is corrected, the total vital force also get corrected. We can do a combination of all these also. So during my practice, during my student days and also during my house surgency period, I got the blessing of the Almighty to be with a doctor who treat 300, 400 patients a day. So his prescription is based on that philosophy, which I identified now scientifically, but he is practicing and seeing the results. So we all see the results, but unable to identify, and he is ashamed to talk about it outside because he is giving more than one medicine, even though 300, 400 patients are approaching him every day. Because Hahnemann said single medicine, and he is putting, not only he, many other big practitioners in India doing that. But they are ashamed to talk about it, thinking it is against what Hahnemann said, because Hahnemann mentioned single medicine. So they are showing these results. But it is our duty to understand and identify and further homeopathy into a practical approach and in all practical and possible ways through our experience. See, Hahnemann identified the basic principle of homeopathy when he was a middle age. And after that, he lived about more than 45, nearly 45 years, by which he changed organon 6 times. So if we have lived 50 more years, how many times he might have modified it? So in order to make homeopathy the #1 medicine in the world, we need to identify all the practically possible different approaches and options which can be effectively make the first aphorism work. The duty of a physician is to cure the sick in whatever way possible, in the most simple way. So that we can approach different methodologies for that. So classical homeopathy, which Hahnemann taught, is one among them. And these constitutional medicine plus pathological prescription is another one. Pathological prescription alone is another one. All these are practical ways. And also understand different physicians give different prescriptions. That is also scientifically correct. So some people argue that if it is a simile, all doctors should reach the same medicine. Not necessarily all the time. Because, see, a doctor treat a patient not with the medicine alone. When a patient comes to a doctor, the doctor's vital force connect with the patient's vital force, and the purity of the vital force of the doctor bring purity to the vital force when the patient desirely surrendered to the doctor. It automatically happens. The philosophy of thinking and understanding of the doctor in correcting the unnatural, unhealthy thought process and the wrong philosophy of thinking in the patient further modify the patient from development of the disease through counseling. That automatically happened during our case taking and the follow-up process. So that is another way of correcting the vital force through new thought developments by correction of the philosophy of thinking of the patient through the guidance of the doctor. That is another way of correction. Then the trust of the patient in the doctor. That is another curative factor. So the trust of the patient in the doctor varies from patient to patient and doctor to doctor also. So that is another curative, that positive mind works. So that is another curative factor. The remaining rectification of the deranged vital force is the one needed to be happen through our appropriate selection of medicine. So different doctors select medicines based on their philosophy of thinking, their natural abilities, which are all individualistic, and appropriate cure influence among or towards the patient, they do also appropriately. So the medicine also can be different, but the totality of all these, the purity driven to the patient's vital force by the pure vital force of the doctor, the counseling or the guidance given by the doctor to the patient to modify the concept and attitudes, and the trust of the patient in the doctor, and the prescription of the right similimum, all are not only patient specific but doctor specific also. So there can be changes in prescription also, but the totality of that can work miraculously. That's why different doctors prescribe differently, but all works. So one doctor give one similimum, another doctor give another similimum in holistic medicine. And that is the approach which we need to understand. That is the difference between linear science and non-linear science. I wish to bring to your awareness also about something about linear science and non-linear science. That is very important to understand the conventional medicine and holistic systems of medicine. In conventional medicine, the research is done in linear science base. In linear science, only one plane is there. In that plane, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. That is the material science, that is the engineering science, that is the science for the technology development. If you make 100 machines, all the 100 machines work in a similar manner. That's why they say in their research, whatever we do should be repeatable. It is true, the repetition should be there in the final outcome, but the method towards the cure of the outcome should be cure of the disease. But the cure of the disease is the repetition that will happen with every patient. But the path that each patient travel towards the cure may differ. And that is what is happening in non-linear science. In non-linear science, 1 plus 1 can be 10,000 or 75,000 or minus 25,000 or 50,000. I will explain why. See, if two of us are planning to have or beginning a business or something, our business can excel based on the cooperation, supporting system we each give to each other, and the trust we have in each other, and cooperation we have. All these help us to bring to any heights of our business success. But if we fight each other, if you are not in harmony, then it can easily get destroyed to any extent to the other side also. So that's why in nonlinear science, 1 plus 1 can be any number, and including some positive side or negative side. And it is not in one plane, it is in multi-planes, it is in 360 planes. That's why our DNA is not just a two-dimensional thing. It is a three-dimensional spiral shape. In epigenetics, we all know that There is no change in the sequential order. And in dynamic science, we understand how the epigenetics works. We know that if we need to give certain instruction to produce an mRNA, each segment of DNA that carries that information get activated to produce that mRNA. This activation happen not only in expressing its DNA sequence, but it has a plane of activation. If the DNA get activated in one plane, that has one expressional ability. If it activated in another plane, it has another expression. So today we scientifically identified only the DNA sequencing, where we identified the sequential order of the nucleic acids arrangement or nucleotides arrangement. The plane of activation is also important. If it is in a different plane, there is a different expression for that. And that is what is called epigenetic change. And all these are controlled by our environment of energy, environment inside, that come from our own thought process from within us, our external energy forces from outside. These external energy forces include um, uh, man-made energies like X-rays, mobile frequencies, TV frequencies, Wi-Fi frequencies, thoughts of others, including externally brought energy vibrations to our body through homeopathic medication. So these external energy vibrations are also very important in influencing us, provided we don't keep stability in our mind. But our external influences in the coming years will be so great, and that is what they are trying to do, to hack humanity through 5G and 6G. So the prayers and meditation are going to play more crucial roles in coming years, along with the stability of our thought process. So that is another reason, after scientifically identifying all these things, I founded an organization called the Universal Humanity Movement with the three main purposes. I'm working on that and slowly developing it. So I need your support to further it. It is called the Universal Humanity Movement. It has three main purposes and missions. And one purpose is to unify humanity, to think we are all same species and we need to think and live harmoniously across the world. And where we as an Indian, I believe the philosophy of ancient philosophy of India has a great role to play. This is not a projection of India, but geographically, India, the land of India is near to the equatorial line. The advantage is that the temperature of this land area is nearly equal to the normal healthy temperature of a human being. So the people who lived in India, in the continent or geographical land area of India, were able to live here naturally without clothing, because the temperature is equal to the normal healthy temperature of a human being. That facilitated long continued existence in this land area. That helped them to evolve into tested and proven traditions and values that help in healthy existence and healthy existence of humanity. So they were fighting before, then they were able to identify that peaceful coexistence is the most important thing that needed to be established for healthy existence. And that's why India became one of the peace-loving nations in the world or area. And that's also why India, our culture lead into vegetarian diet. See, we can eat. Indians were also eating both animal hunters and used to take meat and also everything they used to take. But the difference between an animal diet and vegetarian diet is a huge. See, animals are moving and their DNA carries the stabilized amount of vital force they carry. And since animals are more moving and aggressive, that vital energy stabilized in the DNA, which is present in every cell in the body of an animal. When we take that meat as a diet, that energy superposes and influence our energy and make us more aggressive also. Whereas plant-based diet, the plants are more stable, more stable. So the energy is more subtle and stable. So the plant-based diet helps us to stabilize our energy also. So what is needed for healthy existence is stability of mind. So plant-based diet can give more peace, harmony, and stability to our mind. So that's why the most ancient culture of the world, Indian civilization, they naturally lead into a vegetarian diet, which we called Hindu culture. Hinduism is not a religion, not at all a religion. There is no founder for Hinduism. It is a self-driven, spirituality-based culture. So there is a misinterpretation in the politics now because, see, in democracy, everybody need to develop vote banks. So now certain political parties to develop vote banks, they are developing it into a religion and utilizing that to develop an vote bank system. But that is, they may do it because that is their need to achieve power. But we need to understand that this culture is unique. That is why we have philosophies like Loga, Samasta, Sugino, Pavantu, Vasudhaiva Kudumbaga. The meaning is that Loga, Samasta, Sugino, Pavantu. If I need to exist happy and comfortable, I have the responsibility to think and work for the well-being of the entire humanity living in the world or around me. Then only I can exist happily and comfortably. And Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, whole world is one home. And these are important philosophies that the world need to understand. So today, the President of America, who I have great respect and honor, trying to make America great again at the expense of other nations. And that is going to be very difficult. Nobody can exist like that. And that is what is happening in the world. I'm not criticizing him. We need to understand these kind of things because everybody think where I belong should be the best. That is okay. That is a competitive spirit can be. But nobody can exist happily and harmoniously without helping others also to achieve that. So these are some of the fundamental thoughts. I am really wish to make the world understand, the world leaders understand that. So with a proper vision and understanding, the world need to evolve into a better, peaceful place. Wisdom and knowledge can help us achieve that. So the universal humanity movement is to develop that universality of our existence with the development of a common brotherhood feeling where all of us can think harmoniously and live harmoniously. And the second objective is to develop a global culture because our thoughts control our DNA. So if we have a naturally driven, happy, comfortable, sustainable philosophy of thinking and living, our thought process should be directed in such a way. That's why Jesus Christ said, love your brother as you love yourself. So if you don't have such that is a healthy mind. See, in the psychology books around the world, all abnormalities are defined without defining what is healthy mind. A psychologist should first understand and study what is healthy mind, then only what is abnormal studies become relevant. The purpose of a psychologist is for doing counseling is to understand the abnormalities and help them realize what is normal so that their counseling can help them achieve the normal healthy mind and then only help will be achieved. But today psychology is utilized to identify the abnormality and refer them to psychiatrists to sell psychiatric medicines. So these are the problems happening in the medical field also. But the normal healthy mind is the one needed to be identified and educated among the people. So that is also very important. So we need to develop a global culture by taking advantages of the tested and proven traditions and values of all cultures, most especially the ancient cultures. And third one is furtherance of science. Today, the science I already mentioned is focused on material science or linear science. But a living phenomena is totally different, where we have innate energy, where we have wisdom and energy inside that energy control and regulate the physical functions. So we need to develop non-linear science-based research methodologies to conduct medical researches. That is not happening. That's why many of the scientifically proven drugs are not working, because they are all linear science-based. They may not include the changes in the thought process. So all these parameters needed to be brought to the designing of the treatment. Then only it become complete and useful. That's why after the genome study, scientists like Bruce Lipton come to the idea that all treatments should be individualized, that we are doing. And that is advantage of homeopathic system of medicine. And we are blessed to be part of that wonderful system of medicine. So these are all scope of homeopathy for the future. So these are some of the important things that I wish to share. I am open for discussion today. So please ask questions or share your thought process regarding your experiences regarding what I mentioned, so we can have a fruitful discussion afterwards. Thank you. I request for a discussion, sharing and listening to you, or ask your questions so that I can share further my information to you. Thank you.
Dr. Shaji, I think there are some questions or clarification in the comment box. You can that, please.
Okay, dear Dr. Shaji, thank you so much for your holistic explanation of the linear and non-linear dynamic. It's very, very fruitful and helpful to understand the different levels of the existing science. Thank you very much. Very interesting. I would like to ask you a practical question. As you are treating so much cancer patients with success, you have been talking about the constitutional remedy, and also talking about that you could combine it with an organ remedy. Could you perhaps explain how you are doing that combination? In which way?
Yeah, for your case, I think you are mostly focusing on skin problems. I always
I'm talking about cancer patients, please.
For example,
cancer patients, yes.
Yeah, cancer patients. So, for example, in cancer cases, see, you can differentiate the mental peculiarities or the physical generalities by which we can, and the miasmatic consideration by which we can consider which miasm is dominant or which constitution is constitutional features are relevant, by which we can come into the totality through the generalities. That is the constitutional prescription. So, for example, if your right breast is affected, there are medicines that are particularly affecting the right breast or the left breast. For example, carbo animalis is more focused on the right breast, whereas Asteria cerup is more on the left side. So there are few other medicines also. Then we need to distinguish that one, which is affecting the right and left separately. So if the right breast, I will give the constitutional medicine 200 or above 200, and carbo animalis or calcarea carb or other right-sided medicines also in 30th potency, more frequently.
And you would give it at the same time, more or less,
Yeah,
or
no,
during
no,
the
no.
same day?
First, First 2 doses I give, that is the constitutional medicine, I give only 2 doses. Then these organ-specific medicines I give more frequently, 3 times a day. 3 times a day. So,
And in low potency or also in high potency, like carbo vegetabilis for the right breast?
pardon?
Would you give the organ-specific remedy also in high potency or more in low potency 3
Low
times a
potency.
day?
Low potency
In low
maximum.
potency.
Maximum 30.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and 30, mostly 30 potency. Because my practice
So,
was mainly in Philippines, where I have difficulty in getting all the potencies, because I purchase
yes.
big volume of medicines, which almost all medicines are with me. I keep all the medicines with me. So, but it is not easy to bring medicines there. So I am getting support from the political leaders who are, some of them are my patients. So whenever they support me, I import medicine there for research purposes. That is how technically I practice there. So I import almost all medicines non needed for me, even though some of them I never used in my life. So, but I have all the potencies and all the medicines in the centesimal scale with me. So I use it whenever needed. Mostly I am using centesimal. The 50 millisimal I don't have it there. So my practice was mainly focused in Philippines. So in order to, there is difficulty in importing medicines there. There is another hurdles we have to introduce a new system of medicine to other countries where they are totally restricted by the pharma interests. So these are all the devilish actions of the lobbies who are not human, pro-human. They are so cruel. So these are the problems. But I was able to manage and give a good results and a good name to homeopathy in Philippines. So that's why they helped me to survive there, even though the Philippine Medical Association produced a big challenge towards me to deport me from the Philippines. I was given so many hurdles during my stay in the Philippines in the initial, after 3 years of my stay, when the number of patients I am known there. They gave me a lot of troubles, but by grace of God and the support of my patients and the political leaders there, I was able to overcome all these challenges. And I am blessed with that. So now I got my license to practice there, and I am still continuing there, and I am doing my best for the people of the Philippines in whatever way I can. So I think I answered your question of differentiating the organ specific and constitutional medicine. If you didn't understand, please ask me again. I will further clarify. This is clear for me. I do that, and most of the doctors in India who have very heavy practice, they look large volume of patients per day. I think they all do this methodology.
Okay,
They give a
let
constitutional
me add on thing,
medicine.
Dr. Shaji. Of course, it's one of the method.
One of the method, yes, definitely. I'm not telling that, but for skin problems, I never do that. For skin problems, I always do the constitutional because there is only one organ. So that skin problem should be always treated with the constitutional medicine or the single medicine.
You can say a reference by, I think, Dr. Dunham, homeopathy, the law of simulation has got some sort of elasticity. That is why this kind of fellows are doing their own way. The French physicians practicing their own way. The Charles Hughes school, another way. Dr. Clark school, then Burnett, different methods. The Kenyan method is, of course, the classical one. And definitely, there are examples. There are examples where the physicians are wonderfully curing patients with single medicines. That we must accept, and that should be our target. Whether it's possible or not, that is our failure, I think. But it should be there, because last day we have witnessed a case, craniopharyngioma, Dr. Bindu John. Wonderful case. We was cured, the patient was cured with carcinosin, simple carcinosin. it is cured. So that is a real method, but in certain cases, as of course Dr. Shaji Kuditat mentioned, it's difficult for following such cases, especially the cancer cases. Very perplexed on, no doubt about that. So we must try in all ways. Anyway, our aim is to cure. That is. But don't say it is simple, it is cure. But it has got its own dimensions. Everybody always quoting first edition, first aphorism. But Hahnemann definitely to cure. So the meaning of cure you can see in the King's philosophy. So that is a problem. Homeopathy has a much extensive science, more dimensional, and I think a student who is completing the graduation is not at all capable of going all through this chapter. That may be a problem. And I think Ram Bhargesh, sir, 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Manoj ji. Everyone, namaskar and congratulations, Dr. SHAJI VARGHESE, IFPH Vice President. Nice presentation, dynamic lectures, and homeopathic is a dynamic science.
Okay.
Yes, homeopathic is a dynamic science. Treat the patient, not the disease. Vital force is a dynamic. Main cause of these diseases, dynamic. Homeopathic medicine is a dynamic. Or treat the homeopathic medicine, vital force is a dynamic.
Yes, sir, we have limited time, sir.
Dynamic.
Yes, sir.
Very, very thanks, sir.
Okay.
Treat the cancer cases. Thank you, sir.
Now, sir, please unmute. 1 minute, sir, please. You can unmute now, please. Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this nice presentation. I have two questions. One is you are using two type of medicines. One constitutional, the other organ remedies. How do you arrange these? Alternating or at the same time? This is first question. And the second question is, do you add lifestyle changes, nutrition changes to this application? Thank you very much.
Yes, Tasitin Leary, engineer, very renowned homeopathy lover from and practitioner also from Turkey. He is with us since beginning. Thank you for this question. I will answer very shortly because of lack of time. So the prescription is mainly, I never give two medicines together. Either I alternate if the conditions are severe, 1 hourly or 2 hourly, depends upon the need of the patient, or 3 times a day, 1 hour before meals or 1 hour after meals. So one medicine 1 hour before meals, another medicine 1 hour after meals. It depends upon.
Yeah.
So like that. But if it is constitutional and organ remedies, the constitutional medicines I always give 200 or above 200, 1 10 m or 50 m like that, only in 1 or 2 doses, not give frequently. Then the 30th potency I give 3 times a day or like that, if based on the need of the patient, as I judiciously understand. Then regarding the management, the lifestyle changes, that is a fundamental thing. And the lifestyle changes are not limited to food management. It is mainly limited to the philosophy of thinking. So now we are corrupted with our mind. So understanding the corruption in whatever level we have in the natural plane and bring to the awareness of the patient is the most important thing. A lot of things are there. Men and the common philosophy is gender equality, where these are all controversial questions if I speak about it. But these are very important. We cannot go beyond the nature. Anything we try to go away from the nature will result into disharmony within us and destroy us. And that destruction is happening. And there are people who corrupting our mind purposefully, and that is giving a lot of troubles, and that is the most important cause of many diseases of the present times. That's why many diseases remain incurable, and that is the reason why it is spreading. That's why those westernized countries are influenced by such a corruption. They are the most affected.
Okay.
Yes, that's all. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay. So on behalf of IFPH, I'm expressing sincere thanks to Dr. Shaji Varghese Kuditat and all those participant discussion as well as the program. That with that remark, let me conclude today's English edition. Hope we will be back again tomorrow. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.